Welcome back, gang. Now, as the world increasingly turns to sustainability, today I want to explore the world of solar energy. Because solar energy and storage technology promises to benefit all property owners by reducing their energy costs. And once expensive, the cost of the equipment has dropped 70% over the last 10 years. Energy storage is now being added to 40% of residential installations and plays a huge role in eliminating demand charges for businesses, and that's before we even talk about tax incentives, etc. But technology in the solar industry is changing rapidly. So I wanted to find out more from an expert in this area to bring us all up to speed. And my search led me to James Kennedy from Beach Cities Solar Consulting. They serve a wide range of Fortune 500 companies, and a major role that they play with their clients is educating them about the technology. How can it benefit them economically? And technology has also been instrumental in growing their business remotely when the vast majority of their projects are based in California. And he also has a fascinating backstory. And as you know, I'm all about technology. I'm all about making a difference. I'm all about demystifying it, putting in a language that everyone can understand, but wrap all that up in a human story. And not just that, James also has vast amounts of knowledge on solar and renewable energy, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and so much more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the Caribbean, or as my friends in the US would say, the Caribbean, where James is waiting to speak with me today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, James. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. It's great to be here, Neil. My name is James Kennedy. I'm the founder and president of Beach Cities Solar Consulting. We help large organizations and commercial property owners across the United States and Caribbean transition to solar energy and save millions of dollars on their energy costs. We are also a procurement firm, which means that we represent both sides of the market. We offer products to contractors and developers around the world building solar farms. So we also represent various manufacturers in the market procuring or selling solar panels into their clients.
Incredibly cool. I've got to ask that. Where did your passion for technology in the solar industry come from? There's got to be a story there about what put you on this path that you're on today, speaking to me in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. Neil, I don't know if we've got enough time here to delve into all of it, but I'll give you the 30,000 foot rundown. I grew up in the Northeast in New Hampshire and was very focused in business early on in my life and career, and was working on Wall Street before the financial crisis. I moved to California to be closer to my brother and took a job with a large bank doing wealth management there. And then, of course, 2008 hit and shifted everyone's plans. I look at that now with a lot of gratitude because for a couple of years, trying to find my path and purpose. And then I did. Ironically, like many things in life, some things happen on a bar stool. And I met a solar installer back in 2015 who was working for a general contractor in Los Angeles. And I took that meeting and was interested in the industry because I had invested in solar companies in my previous career and saw the trend going toward renewables and thought it would be a great time to transition into the space. This was 9 years ago. I knew nothing about solar, basically learned everything from the ground up, no pun intended. That was actually the name of the contractor I was working for at the time. 2 years later, I formed my own company. Basically took the model that I learned working on Wall Street of education and referrals, which is non-existent in our industry, our space. It's very, very much throw as much as you can against the wall and see what sticks. Quickly built a 7-figure business, which launched me to the Caribbean. We're based in San Juan, Puerto Rico, but again, we do projects throughout the US and Caribbean and sell product around the world. It's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, in our industry, they call it the solar coaster, not for nothing. A lot of peaks and troughs. You have to really have a very strong stomach for this industry. There's been a lot of obstacles that need to be dug under or moved around or find a way to go over them. But essentially, going back to my childhood, I was always active. I was always outdoors. I'm an avid diver. I love paddleboarding. That's one of the things that attracted me to this region in the world. And we all have a duty to protect the planet that we're fortunate enough to inhabit and for future generations. So I certainly felt better about myself transitioning from finance to renewable energy. And that passion and purpose has been what has continued to drive me over these years.
And it's something to share those stories, because I think in 2,600 interviews, people always say to me, Neil, what traits do these business or tech leaders have? Do they get up at 4 a.m., have a regime like Mark Wahlberg? Do they journal? There's so many different things that they ask from all those listicles that they've read online. But most of the time, it's serendipity. It's a bar stool, a plane seat, a luggage carousel, and just having the will and determination to make those ideas a reality. It's almost like you get a little help from the universe sometimes, isn't it, when you're trying to do something?
Absolutely. There's divine timing in everything in life.
Yeah. From there, of course, you're on this mission to educate homeowners, business owners, non-profits and corporations about the benefits of solar energy and energy storage technology. And here in 2024, I think most people are more accepting of that, but it's not always been that way. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Again, going back a decade to the beginning of my journey in this industry, it was an uphill battle, pushing the rock up the mountain and constantly being a preacher.
Yeah.
Now, certain countries have embraced, the path or transition to a carbon-free future. Fortunately, with this administration here in the U.S., it is renewable friendly, and that's making a big impact in the marketplace. But for a long time, it was really the early adopters, the affluent marketplace that wanted to do the right thing and were not concerned about, the expense or having to pay more for it. Now it's actually economically beneficial, whether you own a home or a massive corporation, to power your day-to-day operations via renewables. It benefits your bottom line. And of course, you feel better about what your footprint is, or your lack of carbon footprint in this beautiful world.
And before you came on the podcast, I was doing a bit of research on you guys. Is it true that the cost of equipment has dropped something like 70% over the last decade? And how have you seen this impact the industry?
Yeah, that is an accurate stat. It's a great stat to show, the adoption curve, or Moore's law. We've seen it. Computers, we saw it with cell phone, and it happened with solar panels. And the next curve is battery storage. So that's what we're getting really excited about, is not only seeing consumers and businesses be able to take the reins and produce their own green energy, they're now able to store it, which means that we're a lot more resilient when we have, no pun intended, the power in our own hands.
Love that. I'm curious, have you seen technology in the solar industry change? Is the speed of change increasing? Because we're recording this at the same time as CES in Vegas, and the speed of technological change there and how AI is going into absolutely everything is phenomenal. I'm curious, are you seeing that same level of speed and improvement in your industry too?
We sure are, Neil. It's mind-blowing. Just about every day, we're approached by a new company with a new technology that believes they're going to change the way our industry moves forward. It's very exciting to keep up with, but at the same point in time, wearing our hat, we want to be aligned with technologies that are proven, not just new and exciting. But, going back to your point, with the cost dropping 70% in the last 10 years, with that, just on the production side, capacity has doubled in that time period. When I got into the business 10 years ago, we were using solar modules that did not exceed 300 watts of output, and now we're at twice that. So it's very exciting. There's new technologies, there's floating solar plants, there's all sorts of things revolutionizing the way that we generate and consume power.
I think the solar industry is one of those industries where everybody's got an opinion on, and not everybody is fully armed with the right information. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here. Are there any myths or misconceptions around solar energy that you can share with us today? Maybe lay a few to rest, because I'm sure there's a few that must drive you nuts that you may read online, etc.?
Yeah, I think there's still some people that may have interests in the status quo in the fossil fuel industry. And of course, if you have interests in any industry, you're going to want to see that industry continue to thrive on a strictly economic basis. 1 kilowatt hour produced by solar or wind is substantially cheaper than producing that by fossil fuels. So it's not really a political discussion anymore. I think it's an economic discussion. And for most people that have a heart and a conscience, they're going to want to do the right thing. And the right thing is renewable energy.
And looking towards not just the rest of 2024, but to the years ahead as well, what excites you about the future of technology in this space? Is there anything you're watching closely? Anything particularly excite you?
That's a long list. Yeah, in particular, again, going back to the battery storage, I think we really need to see that technology accelerate very quickly, because regardless of moving to a carbon-free future, if we're not able to store that solar or wind energy during the night and in events of climate change, we still have, an issue to solve, because the world needs power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And currently that is the major challenge many people are trying to solve, is making that more cost effective and a longer duration solution to storing that power.
And for any business leaders listening, maybe they want to power their business with cleaner solar energy. Which markets do you serve? Is it just the Caribbean area? Is it the US? Is it beyond that? Where do you serve? Who are your typical customers?
Yeah, we work with Fortune 500 clients. Some of our clients include Skechers and a lot of closely held commercial property owners across the United States and Caribbean. We also provide procurement to contractors and solar farm developers around the world.
Fantastic. And I know there are so many new commercial solar tax incentives for business leaders to want to get involved with this. And I suspect from every single call you have with a potential client, they're going to have very similar questions, very similar concerns. A lot might just be in their head. Are there any trends in those kind of questions that they ask you that we can maybe answer today before I let you go?
Yeah, thank you for touching upon that point. The Inflation Reduction Act passed by President Biden 2 years ago actually extended the federal investment tax credit for 10 years. So we have a long runway to meet our renewable energy goals here in the US. If you are a large business, whether you finance the project or CapEx the project, you're looking at a 4 or 5 year payback in most markets around the country. So it's a very attractive return. And depending upon the situation and where those facilities are located, there is the potential to receive up to 60% now with the Inflation Reduction Act in federal tax credits. That's one of the things we work with our clients to provide and educate them on, is making sure that they are taking advantage of all of the federal and local incentives available.
And you mentioned you work with some huge Fortune 500 companies. I don't want you to mention any names here, but just to bring to life what that journey looks like, how long it takes from getting involved with you, signing on the line and getting that solar energy implemented, etc. Is there a use case that you can share that would just help people understand what that journey looks like and how long it takes?
Great question. Again, you need a lot of patience if you're going to be in this industry and be a solar project developer. A typical corporate client takes about a year for one facility to energize, from contracting through engineering plans, actual boots on the roof or on the ground, to the local jurisdiction signing off, and then the utility granting permission to operate. That has been extended from the pandemic and various other external forces, but again, depending upon various factors and the size of the facility or property, a year is a metric to set expectations.
Well, we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, which took you from New Hampshire to California and the Caribbean, a few bar stools along the way. So I'm going to take a punt here and think that books and music, or one of the two, is going to play a part in some of those travels. So I'm going to end on a slight curveball here. I always ask my guests, if there was a song that you could leave that we can add to our Spotify playlist for listeners to check out, or a book that they might want to read that will add to our Amazon wish list, what would it be and why? What's that final thing you'd like to leave everyone with?
Amazing question.
I told you it was a curveball.
There's too many. I'm a huge fan of music and reading and personal development. Off the top of my head, there's just, it's hard to pinpoint one, but I would say anything that aligns your soul with its purpose and perseverance. You know, being an entrepreneur is all about perseverance and keeping going. Off the top of my head, I would say Tom Petty, Running Down a Dream, or Don't Back Down.
Oh, two absolute bangers there. In fact, I'm feeling in a generous mood. I'm going to add both of those to the Spotify playlist. So relevant for what we're talking about as well, and anyone on that startup journey. Fantastic choice. And for anyone listening, just want to find out more information about Beach City Solar or anything we've talked about today, where would you like to point them?
Our website is the absolute number one resource for education and reaching out to our team. www.beachcitiessolarconsulting.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll add those links to the show notes. So much I love chatting with you today about solar energy, stories, technology, how it promises to benefit all property owners by reducing their energy costs. But I think the fact that the equipment has dropped 70% over the last 10 years, combined with those tax breaks as well, is just amazing. So thanks for sharing that with me today.
Thanks for having me on the show, Neil. I really appreciate it and had a great time.
So a big thank you to James for teaching us about the many benefits homeowners and businesses alike can receive by converting to renewable energy, and also sharing his valuable knowledge about what he's learned over the years. But I'm curious, did we talk about anything that resonates with you? Do you have anything that you'd like to add to this conversation? Whatever it is, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. I'm nice and easy to find. But I'd love to get you more involved in this podcast. And if you'd like to join me on here, again, contact me. But that's it for today. So thank you as always for tuning in. I'll be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll tackle a completely different topic. But just thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.